You are sitting in the mid-morning strategy meeting. The projector is humming. And right there, in front of the manager you have been trying to impress for 6 months, your most supportive coworker clears their throat and smoothly pitches your idea. The exact idea you confided in them, over coffee just 3 days ago. They smile. The room nods in approval. You sit there, paralyzed by polite society, your heart pounding in your throat, trying to figure out if you should speak up and look bitter, or stay quiet and look invisible. Welcome to the game you didn't know you were playing. In a world obsessed with authenticity, your transparency is bleeding you dry. We are conditioned from childhood to believe that being an open book is a moral high ground. We are told to share our struggles, voice our ambitions, and wear our hearts on our sleeves. Modern culture preaches vulnerability as the ultimate strength. But look at where that actually gets you. The moment people know everything about you, they have the exact blueprint required to dismantle you. They know what you desperately want, which means they know exactly what to dangle in front of you to keep you obedient. They know what you fear, which means they know precisely where to apply pressure when they need you to fold. In the modern landscape, whether it is the corporate hierarchy, the subtle competitions of your social circle, or the brutal marketplace of dating, most people are not listening to you to understand you. They are listening to calibrate you. They are calculating your limits. When you overshare on a Friday night out with colleagues, you think you are bonding. You think you are building a tribe. They think they are gathering data. The frustrations you vent about your boss, the deep insecurities you confess about your status, that is ammunition. You are willingly handing them the bullets they will eventually load into the chamber when it becomes necessary to shoot you down to elevate themselves. You must realize a fundamental law of human nature. They cannot destroy what they cannot decode. Think back to that meeting room. The coworker who stole your concept was not just taking your intellectual property. They were testing your emotional baseline. If you snap, if your face turns red, if you raise your voice or scramble defensively to reclaim what is yours, you lose. You instantly become the volatile, jealous one, while they remain the calm, collected professional who just wants what is best for the team. The second you react emotionally, you hand the remote control of your nervous system to someone else. They can smell the desperation, the anger, the visceral need for validation. And once they know how to trigger you, you are nothing more than a puppet on their string. A rival will drop a passive-aggressive comment in a group chat, just to watch you unravel. A supposed friend will disguise a targeted insult as a joke, to see if you will rush to defend yourself. Power belongs to the cold. The one who stays entirely composed, who processes the betrayal not with a spike in heart rate, but with a silent, chilling calculation, holds the ultimate leverage. When you do not give them the reaction they engineered, you starve them of power. You force them into the highly uncomfortable position of wondering what you know and what you are going to do next. This requires a skill that polite society demonizes, but history consistently rewards: the art of the mask. If you walk through life showing your true intentions, your genuine annoyance, or your raw, unfiltered ambition to everyone you meet, you will be crushed before you even leave the starting line. People are deeply intimidated by unchecked ambition. They are repelled by overt aggression. and they will subconsciously align to sabotage anyone who threatens their sense of security. To navigate the human zoo, you must learn to blend in. You must act harmless to conceal your drive. You must learn to smile warmly at the exact people you are systematically planning to outmaneuver. This is not hypocrisy. Hypocrisy is pretending to be a saint while acting like a devil because you lack self-awareness. This is survival. It is the conscious recognition that the world is a stage, and showing up without a costume is tactical suicide. Think of the modern networking event, the family gathering, or the corporate retreat. It is a festival of masks. The amateur walks into these rooms trying to be themselves and make genuine connections, leaving themselves completely exposed to the predators in the room. The strategist walks in knowing exactly what persona the environment requires. If the room values humility, they become the eager, self-effacing student. If the room values dominance, they project quiet, unshakable authority. They do not view this as being fake. They view it as operating a user interface. You do not get angry at a computer for requiring a password to access its files, so why get angry at human nature for requiring a facade to bypass its defenses? You nod. You play the part of the agreeable colleague, the supportive friend, the unthreatening presence, all while silently moving your pieces across the board. Let them think you are predictable. Let them underestimate your intelligence. There is an incredible, lethal freedom in being underestimated. While they are busy admiring their own cleverness, you are studying their blind spots. The greatest strategists of the last 500 years understood that visibility is vulnerability. Machiavelli knew that the ruler who reveals his thoughts is a ruler who invites his own destruction. In your daily life, your private plans, your next career move, the things that truly bother you, guard them as if your life depends on it, because your social and professional survival absolutely does. Speak less. When you do speak, say exactly what needs to be said to paint the picture you want them to see, and nothing more. Smile in the face of their probing questions. Feed them trivial details to satisfy their curiosity, but bury your true motives so deep that even your closest allies cannot find them. But hiding your intentions is only the baseline of survival. To actually move forward, you have to realize that waiting for permission is the fastest way to become obsolete. But hiding your intentions is only the baseline of survival. To actually move forward, you have to realize that waiting for permission is the fastest way to become obsolete. Let us examine the myth of merit. You have lived this exact scenario. A promotion opens up, a major client is on the fence, or perhaps someone you are deeply interested in enters the picture. You know you are the most qualified. You have done the invisible labor, you possess the raw talent, and you wait patiently for the right time to make your move. You assume your hard work speaks for itself. And then, you watch in a slow-motion car crash as someone with half your intellect and twice your audacity simply walks up and takes the prize. They get the title, they get the relationship, they get the capital. And you are left standing in the ashes of your own patience, bitterly comforting yourself with the idea that the world is just unfair. This is where the delusion ends and your actual education begins. The world is not unfair, it is simply indifferent. You are not losing because you are a victim of bad luck or toxic environments. You are losing because you are waiting for a referee to blow a whistle in a game that has no rules. You have been programmed by a system, from your earliest school days to your corporate onboarding, to believe that if you follow the guidelines, keep your head down and do good work, you will be rewarded. You were taught that authority always notices the quiet, obedient student who does their homework. But the boardroom is not a classroom, and polite society is not grading your moral purity. You have spent your entire life operating under the disastrous assumption that the universe rewards goodness, loyalty, and patience. It does not. It rewards leverage, timing, and action. Fairness is a comforting bedtime story invented by the weak to negotiate with the strong. The brutal reality is that power is not granted to those who wait in line. It is seized by those who realize the line is an illusion. The architecture of control dictates that the one who moves first writes the history of the encounter. If you hesitate to claim the credit, the narrative is rewritten by the person who speaks the loudest. If you sense a shifting dynamic in your workplace or your relationship, and you wait to see how it plays out, you are willingly becoming a passenger in your own downfall. The Machiavellian player understands that opportunities are stolen in the silent spaces where average people hesitate. This is not about reckless, unthinking aggression. It is about calculated, cold dominance. When you see a gap in the armor, you step into it. When you sense someone positioning themselves to undercut you or spread a toxic rumor, you do not wait for them to draw blood. You do not hope they change their mind. You rearrange the board, orchestrating the narrative before their blade even leaves the sheath so their strike hits empty air. You must unlearn the cowardice disguised as patience. The first move dictates the terms of engagement. The person who hesitates merely becomes the collateral damage of someone else's ambition. Yet, a first strike is only lethal if it is entirely unseen. This brings us back to the fatal flaw of the human ego, the desperate, burning need to announce your arrival. People love to talk about what they are going to do. They announce their new business ventures. They hint at their strategic power plays. They telegraph their boundaries to their partners before they ever actually enforce them. This is strategic suicide. The fastest way to invite sabotage is to hand your rivals a map of your trajectory. When you broadcast your next move, you give the envious the exact coordinates they need to build roadblocks. Your plans, your ambitions, the quiet maneuvers you are making behind the scenes to secure your leverage, these must remain submerged in absolute darkness. By the time they realize you have entered the game, you should already be counting the chips. Work in the shadows. Let them believe you are complacent. Let them think you are stuck in the exact same rut they are, while you quietly acquire the resources necessary to make them irrelevant. They cannot destroy what they cannot decode. And once you make that move, once the strike lands and your value becomes undeniable, you must master the counterintuitive physics of presence. The average person, upon achieving a victory or securing a position, tries to embed themselves completely. They want to be seen. They want to be acknowledged. They become hyper-available to prove they belong and justify their worth. This is a massive miscalculation. Familiarity breeds contempt. The more accessible you are, the cheaper your stock becomes. Think of the coworker who is always eager to please, always running to fix everyone else's emergencies. At first, they are praised. 6 months later, they are expected. A year later, they are entirely invisible, passed over for promotion. because they are viewed as a utility, not a leader. The moment people know they can reach you at any hour, the moment they know you will always say yes to the extra project or absorb the emotional dumping of a friend, they stop respecting your time, because you have signaled that your time has no intrinsic value. The rarest resource in any market is the one that is difficult to acquire. You must learn to manufacture scarcity with your own presence. Now contrast the eager coworker with the person who delivers exceptional results but remains slightly aloof. They leave exactly at 5. They do not over-explain their weekends. They are warm but fundamentally unreachable. When they speak, the room quiets down because their voice is not constant, predictable background noise. When you step back, when you let a text message sit unread for hours, when you decline an invitation without an apology or a frantic explanation, you create a vacuum. And human psychology cannot stand a vacuum. They will fill it with curiosity, then with overthinking, and finally, with respect. You become significantly heavier in their minds when you are not physically there to alleviate their anxiety. This strategic absence forces them to realize that your attention is a privilege, not a given right. You let them feel the subtle, creeping panic of what it might be like if you withdrew your value entirely. Once you master the timing of your moves, you must look at the people standing next to you, because the greatest threats rarely come from strangers. Once you master the timing of your moves, you must turn your gaze to the people standing right next to you, because the greatest threats to your ascent rarely come from strangers. Picture a friendship, an alliance, or a romantic partnership you thought was absolute. You spent years investing in this person. You covered for them when they fell behind at work. You lent them money when their back was against the wall. You offered your unyielding support during their darkest, most vulnerable hours. You assumed the bond was unbreakable, forged in the fires of mutual sacrifice and deep affection. But the moment the winds changed, the second a more lucrative professional opportunity arose, or a higher status social circle beckoned, they vanished. They did not just leave. They discarded you with a terrifying, casual indifference. Perhaps they even took the private insecurities you shared and used them as social currency to buy their way into their next environment. You were left bewildered, standing in the wreckage of your own devotion, asking yourself how human beings could be so inherently disloyal. The answer is cold, simple, and the hardest pill for the well-intentioned to swallow. You fundamentally misunderstood the nature of loyalty. You treated loyalty as a moral absolute, a heavy debt of gratitude that the universe would somehow enforce. But in the architecture of human psychology, gratitude has a remarkably short half-life. It is a depreciating asset. Human nature is not inherently evil. It is ruthlessly pragmatic. People are loyal to their own survival, their own advancement, and their own comfort. When you attempt to buy loyalty with kindness, favors, or emotional support, you are purchasing an allegiance that expires the moment the transaction is complete. The moment they no longer need your kindness, your leverage evaporates entirely. The Machiavellian player observes this reality not with bitterness or despair, but with clinical acceptance. They understand that while you should absolutely reward loyalty when you see it, by granting access, offering small favors, and providing public recognition, you must never, under any circumstances, depend on it. If someone's devotion is based purely on how they feel about you today, it can be effortlessly erased by how they feel about someone else tomorrow. True security does not come from being loved. It comes from being structurally indispensable. You must shift your entire paradigm from seeking affection to engineering dependency. The people who can easily replace you will never truly respect you, and they will eventually betray you the moment the cost-benefit analysis tilts in their favor. But the people who cannot function without you will protect you with their lives, regardless of whether they actually like you. Look at the power dynamics in any high-stakes modern environment. The aggressive corporate executive may privately despise the introverted data analyst, but if that analyst is the only person who understands the complex algorithmic model keeping the company's profit margins afloat, that analyst is utterly untouchable. The ambitious social climber might envy your natural charisma, but if you are the sole gatekeeper to the exclusive network they desperately want to access, they will never risk crossing you. You must become the linchpin in whatever ecosystem you occupy. To do this, you must stop giving away your value for free in a desperate bid to be appreciated. The amateur seeks validation by solving everyone's problems and handing over the keys to the kingdom. The strategist acquires a rare skill, hoards critical information, and builds a web of exclusive connections, but never gives away the full schematic. You dole out your expertise in calculated, precise measurements, ensuring that the system, whether it is your workplace, your creative project, or your business partnership, begins to structurally collapse the moment you step away. You want to weave yourself so deeply into the fabric of their success that removing you would cause them catastrophic pain. When you hold the invisible chains of necessity, you do not have to beg for allegiance, monitor their texts, or wonder if they are speaking poorly of you behind closed doors. Their loyalty is no longer a choice. It is a strict, inescapable condition of their own survival. Yet, building dependency is only half the equation. The other half is managing the psychology of the people tethered to you. Power rots from the inside out the moment people feel entirely secure around you. When everyone in your inner circle knows their place is guaranteed, they inevitably grow complacent. They stop fearing the loss of your favor. They begin to take your resources, your time, and your presence for granted. To maintain absolute control, you must subtly keep them competing for your approval. This does not mean becoming an erratic tyrant or ruling with overt cruelty. That only breeds a violent, synchronized rebellion. Instead, it requires the mastery of subtle psychological tension. You must manipulate the flow of your attention. Give small, unexpected rewards to the ones who perform at a high level, then effortlessly pull back and redirect your focus to someone else. Let a lingering, uncomfortable silence follow a mediocre effort. Make your presence, your praise, and your validation feel like a scarce, highly coveted prize that must be continuously earned. The moment they sense they might be replaced, or that someone else in the hierarchy is gaining your favor, their primal survival instincts kick in. They will work harder. They will move with renewed intensity. They will constantly try to prove their ongoing worth to you. By creating an invisible arena where your allies, colleagues, and even partners subtly compete for your shadow, you ensure that their energy is entirely consumed by seeking your approval. They are kept so relentlessly busy looking up at you that they never have the time or the oxygen to plot against you. Surrounding yourself with dependent allies is a shield, but to truly dominate the board, you must learn to weaponize the one thing most people are terrified of: nothing. Surrounding yourself with dependent allies is a shield, but to truly dominate the board, you must learn to weaponize the one thing most people are terrified of: nothing. Picture yourself sitting across from a deeply insecure manager, a toxic partner, or an aggressive client. They are escalating. They throw out a thinly veiled insult, challenge your competence, or demand an unreasonable concession. Their voice rises, their posture leans forward, and they wait for the inevitable. They expect you to scramble. They want you to talk fast, over-explain, apologize, or lash out in defensiveness. This is the script they have written for you. Instead, you do something terrifying. You do absolutely nothing. You hold their gaze. Your face remains entirely impassive. You let a heavy, suffocating silence fill the room. You watch them with the clinical detachment of a scientist observing a rat in a maze. Words are the currency of the desperate. The average person is terrified of silence. They view a pause as a dark void that must be frantically filled with sound. When that void opens up, their anxiety spikes. They begin to overthink, and in their rush to break the psychological tension, they spill their own secrets, reveal their insecurities, or offer concessions they never intended to make. When you remain silent, you become a mirror, reflecting their aggression and lack of control right back onto them. You force them to sit in the unbearable echo of their own unreasonableness. You are not just withholding words, you are withholding the very reaction they need to feel powerful. Remember the velvet line of the strategist: they cannot destroy what they cannot decode. As the seconds tick by, their manufactured confidence evaporates. They start negotiating against themselves. They backtrack. They nervously laugh. The power dynamic violently shifts, not because of a brilliant counter-argument you made, but because of the oxygen you refuse to give them. This mastery of nothingness extends far beyond the boardroom table or the tense negotiation. It is the ultimate filter for the battles you choose to fight. Weak people are hyper-reactive. They are easily lured into pointless digital arguments, petty office gossip, and trivial social media disputes because their fragile ego demands immediate vindication. They operate under the illusion that every challenge must be met with force. As a result, they bleed out from 1,000 tiny cuts, wasting precious cognitive bandwidth and emotional energy trying to prove a point to people who fundamentally do not matter. The Machiavellian player understands that every minute spent engaging in a meaningless skirmish is a minute stolen from building their empire. When a coworker sends a passive-aggressive email attempting to bait you, or an envious acquaintance drops a snide comment, your silence is not a surrender. It is a lethal dismissal. It communicates, louder than any insult, that they are entirely beneath your notice. You must evaluate every potential conflict with a ruthless, almost mathematical pragmatism. Ask yourself, does winning this engagement yield tangible power, resources, or leverage? Does it advance my position on the board? If the only prize is the temporary satisfaction of your ego, you drop the rope and walk away. Let the loud, small people fight over the scraps of social validation. Let them exhaust themselves in the mud. You preserve your energy for the strikes that actually alter the trajectory of your life. As you curate these silent victories and refuse to engage in the chaotic noise of the masses, you begin to construct your ultimate, impenetrable armor, your reputation. In the invisible hierarchy of modern society, perception is reality. Long before you ever open your mouth, your reputation enters the room and negotiates on your behalf. It dictates how people treat you, what level of respect you are automatically granted, and whether predators view you as a vulnerable target or a dangerous threat. A damaged reputation strips you of all leverage. A single unchecked rumor can close doors you didn't even know were open. But a carefully cultivated aura of unshakable competence makes you practically immortal. People do not have the time or the intelligence to investigate the absolute truth of who you are. They simply believe the story you consistently project. Therefore, you must guard your name with a terrifying vigilance. You avoid messy, public emotional displays. You never associate with people whose own reputations are chaotic or toxic, knowing that their stain will inevitably bleed onto you. You ensure that your wins are highly visible, while your failures are quietly buried. But reputation is not just about curating a history of success. It is largely about the illusion of strength you project in the present moment. Life will inevitably hand you devastating losses. You will face betrayals that leave you breathless, financial setbacks that threaten your foundation, and personal ruin that makes you want to collapse. The defining characteristic of the powerful is not that they never bleed, but that they never let the world see the blood. When you are attacked, when the deal falls through, or when the relationship implodes, you must suffer in absolute privacy. Behind closed doors, you can rage, you can mourn, you can rebuild the broken pieces of your strategy. But in public, you are a monolith. You step out of your front door, and you stand taller. You speak slower. You project a chilling, serene calm that forces your enemies to second-guess their own success. They struck you with everything they had, yet you did not fall. Therefore, they must logically assume you possess hidden reserves of power they cannot comprehend. This illusion of invulnerability creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because you appear unshakable, people defer to you. They hesitate to challenge you. And because they defer to you, you gain the actual leverage and breathing room needed to quietly repair whatever was broken. You orchestrate your outward image with the precision of a masterful illusionist, ensuring that the world only ever interacts with the armor. Yet, even the strongest armor is useless if you allow the wrong elements to slowly rust it from the inside out. Yet, even the strongest armor is useless if you allow the wrong elements to slowly rust it from the inside out. You must recognize that no matter how seamlessly you blend in, no matter how quietly you build, the moment you begin to rise, you will inevitably generate friction. You will acquire enemies. Picture the toxic manager who actively undermines your projects because your raw competence highlights their deep-seated mediocrity. Think of the envious relative who masks their bitter resentment as concern, constantly bringing up your past failures at family dinners to keep you tethered to a lesser version of yourself. Or consider the vocal critic in your social circle who seems dedicated to subtly turning the room against you. The average person encounters this hostility and is consumed by a desperate, agonizing need to be liked. They waste sleepless nights, wondering why someone would be so inherently cruel. They try to win the enemy over with appeasement and kindness, or they erupt in a highly public, defensive rage. Both reactions are fatal. The Machiavellian player does not take hatred personally. They view an enemy not as a tragedy, but as a deeply valuable, unpaid consultant. An enemy is the most brutally honest mirror you will ever look into. While your friends flatter you and your allies tell you exactly what you want to hear to maintain the peace, your enemies are meticulously scanning your perimeter for weaknesses. Their gossip reveals the exact vulnerabilities in your public image. Their attacks highlight the gaps in your knowledge, the flaws in your strategy, and the insecurities you thought you had hidden. They are conducting free market research on your defenses, and if you are smart enough to detach your ego, you can use their malice as a diagnostic tool. Let their obsession with you sharpen your awareness. Let their resistance serve as the whetstone against which you grind your blade. However, gathering intelligence from a threat does not mean you allow the threat to flourish. Powerful people are ruthlessly proactive. They understand that time does not heal all wounds. It simply allows infections to spread. A small problem ignored becomes a systemic disaster. A minor rival tolerated becomes an existential threat. You study the enemy just long enough to understand their trajectory, and then you crush them while they are still weak. You do this not with theatrical violence or emotional outbursts, but with invisible precision. You quietly cut off their access to your network. You outshine them so definitively in your performance that their criticisms begin to sound like the irrational ravings of a jealous inferior. You neutralize the threat before it ever learns to walk, because showing mercy to a growing enemy is nothing but profound cruelty to yourself. The primary mechanism by which you orchestrate this neutralization, and the way you maintained absolute dominance over the board, is the ruthless control of information. Knowledge is not power. The strategic distribution of knowledge is power. The person who regulates the flow of information dictates reality itself. Your enemies, your allies, and your superiors are all operating based on the data you choose to feed them. If you overshare, you hand them the exact map they need to circumvent your defenses. But when you compartmentalize, when you offer partial truths and carefully curated details, you force them to navigate a maze of your own design. You might feed a toxic colleague a piece of irrelevant, fabricated information to see who they immediately share it with, instantly mapping their secret alliance network like a tripwire. You might tell an envious acquaintance about a fake struggle so they feel a false sense of superiority, keeping them docile and complacent while you execute your actual masterstroke in total silence. You become the invisible editor of the narrative. They cannot destroy what they cannot decode. They cannot attack your true position because they are entirely occupied with chasing the phantoms you have purposefully projected into the room. Operating at this level of psychological control requires you to discard the most dangerous fairy tale modern society pushes: the idea that it is always better to be loved than feared. Love is a fragile, highly volatile emotion, entirely dependent on the shifting moods, changing environments, and temporary desires of others. If everyone around you, your team at work, your extended social circle, even your romantic partner, feels completely and unconditionally safe in your presence, human nature guarantees they will eventually test the boundaries. They will grow sloppy, they will begin to take your grace for granted. They will slowly and subtly begin to disrespect your time, your boundaries, and your resources, simply because they know there is absolutely no penalty for doing so. A dynamic built solely on affection is a house built on sand. To anchor your power permanently, you must introduce a subtle, constant undercurrent of fear. This is not the loud, chaotic fear of an insecure tyrant who screams, throws tantrums, and micromanages. That type of fear breeds intense resentment and inevitable rebellion. The fear you must cultivate is cold, quiet, and deeply sophisticated. It is simply the absolute, unspoken certainty of consequences. It is the chilling realization in the minds of those around you that if they cross a line, your withdrawal will be instantaneous, absolute, and severe. It is the way your eyes go completely dead when someone attempts a disrespectful joke at your expense. It is the immediate, unhesitating removal of your access and privilege when an ally breaks your trust. You do not need to threaten anyone. Verbal threats are just a confession that you lack actual control. You simply allow them to feel the agonizing weight of your boundaries. When people understand that your favor is conditional and that the penalty for betrayal is total exile, they police their own behavior. They move with caution. They treat you with the reverence that only comes when they know you possess the capacity to walk away from a negotiation, a job, or a relationship without shedding a single tear. Let them admire your warmth, but make absolutely sure that a small, primal part of their brain is terrified of ever waking up your coldness. When you have neutralized the external threats and controlled the narrative, only one final, brutal step remains to solidify your position. When you have neutralized the external threats and controlled the narrative, only one final, brutal step remains to solidify your position. You must turn the knife inward and ruthlessly prune your own environment. Take a long, cold look at your current circle. You know exactly who the dead weight is, even if you have spent years lying to yourself about it. It is the friend who is perpetually in crisis, who uses your empathy as a psychological dumpster for their own refusal to take responsibility. It is the colleague who constantly complains about the system, whispering toxic resentments in your ear, but refusing to actually put in the work to upgrade their own skills. It is the romantic partner or family member who subtly guilt-trips you for outgrowing the lesser version of yourself they were most comfortable controlling. The average person tolerates these people out of a misplaced sense of loyalty, a fear of being perceived as cold, or a desperate desire to be the saint who never abandons anyone. But you must understand that weakness is highly contagious. It operates like a parasite. It quietly drains your cognitive reserves, slows your momentum, and anchors you to a baseline of mediocrity. The Machiavellian player understands that proximity is destiny. If you surround yourself with individuals who make excuses, you will inevitably begin to compromise your own standards. Your ambition will be suffocated by their complacency. Therefore, you must cut off weakness without a single shred of mercy. This is not malice. It is the highest form of self-preservation. You do not need a dramatic confrontation. You simply distance yourself. You stop answering the frantic texts with urgency. You become too busy, too intensely focused on your own ascent, and too unavailable to participate in their endless cycles of manufactured drama. Power demands absolute clarity, and clarity requires an environment completely devoid of those who secretly benefit from your stagnation. Once your circle is fortified and the parasites are quietly removed, you must ensure that you never become a static target. The moment you settle into a comfortable, recognizable pattern, you invite your own destruction. Predictability is the ultimate vulnerability in the game of power. When people, even your closest allies and most trusted partners, can accurately forecast your next move, your daily routine, or your exact emotional responses, they can effortlessly build a cage around you before you even realize you are trapped. They know exactly what incentive to offer to get you to comply, and exactly what pressure to apply to get you to fold. To maintain absolute superiority, you must cultivate radical unpredictability. You must occasionally break your own patterns just to remind the world that you cannot be mapped. If you are known for your aggressive, unrelenting negotiation style, suddenly concede a minor point with unsettling grace and a warm smile, leaving your opponent frantically wondering what invisible trap you have just set. If you are a constant, reliable presence in the office, vanish for a few days, operating in total silence and forcing them to feel the sudden, heavy weight of your absence. In your social life, cancel an obligation without offering a desperate, over-explained apology. An opponent cannot strike a moving target, and a manipulator cannot control a mind they cannot anticipate. When they cannot figure you out, their confidence shatters. They default to hesitation, overthinking every interaction, and in the merciless game of human dynamics, the one who hesitates has already lost the board. This deliberate unpredictability allows you to execute the highest level of Machiavellian strategy, building your ultimate empire entirely in the shadows. The modern world is infected with a desperate, pathetic disease of noise. People are obsessed with proving their relevance through constant, loud, digital validation. They chase fleeting applause. They broadcast their small victories. They argue over temporary status, and they live loud, frantic lives that will be forgotten the moment their battery dies or the algorithm shifts. The powerful do not play for applause, they play for legacy. Legacy is the architecture you leave behind that dictates the rules of the game long after you have left the room. It is the generational leverage that cannot be seen on a social media feed. It is the structural influence that operates beneath the surface of the company, the industry, or the family dynamic. You build this by moving like a ghost. You quietly acquire assets, rare skills, and undeniable leverage while your peers are distracted by entertainment, outrage, and weekend escapism. You let them have the spotlight, knowing full well that the spotlight only illuminates the target for the archers. The loudest person in the room is always the most insecure, desperately begging the world to acknowledge a power they do not actually possess. You do not need to announce your kingdom. You simply lay the bricks in the dark, orchestrating the environment so thoroughly that one day the loud fools wake up and realize they are already living inside your walls, playing by your rules. This is the cold, unvarnished reality of human nature. The world is not a meritocracy. It is a battlefield of incentives, leverages, and unseen maneuvers. The weak romanticize the game, hoping that virtue, patience, and blind loyalty will somehow save them from being devoured. The powerful learn the rules, exploit the board, and position their pieces with lethal intent. You now possess the blueprint to stop being the collateral damage of other people's ambition. But a blueprint is entirely useless if you lack the nerve to actually build the fortress. Tomorrow morning, you will wake up and you will walk into your life fundamentally altered. You will stop over-explaining yourself to people who do not matter. You will embrace the terrifying, commanding weight of your own silence. You will observe the pathetic masks of those around you without anger, but with the cold calculation of an architect studying a flawed foundation. And you will begin to construct your own empire entirely out of their line of sight. If you are finally ready to stop being played and start pulling the strings, leave a comment below saying, "I am the architect." The game is happening around you every single second of every single day. It is time to decide, once and for all, if you are the player or just another piece on the board.